Hello and welcome to Foodocracy for Her. I'm your host, Kalyan Karmakar, and Foodocracy for Her is a podcast dedicated to women in the Indian food industry. Today, we're going to speak to Ankita Fernandes, who, along with her brother, Adith Fernandes, is the co-owner of Fresh Catch restaurant in Mumbai, a very, very popular place for seafood. It was started by their father, Francis Fernandes, in 1998. He unfortunately passed away a couple of years back, and his children have taken over. So let's talk to Ankita about how this experience has been, especially about that of taking their father's legacy ahead. So in a few seconds, we'll have Ankita with us. So we've got Ankita on, and welcome to the show, Ankita. Great to have you on board.
Kalyan.
Great to have you on board.
Yes, we've had this discussion for a while.
No, I love eating at Fresh Cats and talking to you both. And I must show you the background of this thing. It won't. So it's quite. We have this photo upstairs.
Oh, nice.
On the higher part of the wall, which won't show here, but it's all about Fresh Cats. So it's quite a symbolic.
Folk, yeah.
Yeah, with the fish they've picked up.
Picture. Is it painted?
Yeah, it's painted. It's a painting. Oh. Yeah. So we were talking about Fresh Catch and how it's an institution among seafood lovers in the city from outside, and also what I didn't mention is a lot of celebrities, starting from Sachin Tendulkar to everyone, and Busy Bee, Behram contractor, whom I really look up to as a food writer, said a lot of lovely words. So, Ankita, I don't think, a conversation with you can really start without talking about the origins of Fresh Catch. So would you like to tell us a bit about that? How is it that your father was more in the financial control side of hotels, then started Fresh Catch?
So, Fresh Catch was nothing that just happened out of a business idea. Fresh Catch was basically how my dad was born and brought up with, the cuisine that he is born and brought up with, and what his mom has taught him. So whatever is served at the restaurant, it's basically my dad, Francis Fernandes, who's the brainchild behind Fresh Catch. And it started way in his childhood, and then that was bestowed upon Adith and me now. But this is home food for him. This was home food for people living in Karnataka, in Karwar, where his hometown is Honnavar. So there you would get a mix of, I call it Karwari cuisine now, my brother calls it Karwari cuisine, but it is a mix of Goan and Mangalorean food, because we are right at the border of Karnataka and Goa. So we are right in the middle of the two states. But this is his ode to his childhood and his food that he has relished with, and his passion for wanting people to try that food. So he started with a lot of 5-star hotels, where he started as a financial controller, and basically that was the backbone of inventing Fresh Catch, because he aced the food part right, where he grew up with his mom and he used to cook with his brothers and sisters. But the background of the running a restaurant came in from his experience from you name it, Chola Sheraton, Oberoi's, Doha, where he worked with the Doha Club. So all of that just culminated together, and that's where Fresh Catch was invented.
And that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of people are passionate about food, feeding people. A lot of people have the dream of opening a restaurant, but at the end of it, you need a serious sort of backbone behind the restaurant, like you rightly said. So I think his experience really helped that. But there's a role, since it's a podcast about women in the food industry, and your mom isn't directly into the food industry. She's a hairstylist or for advertising shoots and films. I don't know, hair stylist or hair expert controller is much more than a stylist. But she played a significant role in the birth of Fresh Catch. So would you like to tell us a bit about that?
So, where Fresh Catch is concerned, even when dad started, before Fresh Catch, he started with catering. And mom had access to a lot of like sets, like shoot sets, because she's from the advertising industry. And this is like a very, a very funny story where she would just go and, tell her directors or the producers, like if they would just sit, because everybody wants to, after you have like a 12, 13-hour shift, which is a regular shift in that industry. But they would just want to eat and, eat good food, have a drink or, all of that. So they would discuss and just ask questions. And most of them were, like fans of seafood. So mom would recommend saying, there's this place called Fresh Catch, and you can order if you like seafood, you can order from there. And mom was very sheepish about it because she would not say anything, whether she was the owner or the wife of the owner, but she would just recommend. And sometimes they would order in, but all of them would rave about the food, and that eventually snowballed into like larger shoots and like taking over production and stuff like that, that my dad would cater to. And then after they ate the food, after they spoke about it and they ordered for the second time, then she would say, by the way, Fresh Catch is mine.
So and, do you remember any or any such famous people who took this route from?
So many. So actually, when you see about, even when you spoke about Sachin, there was a shoot which was happening with Ishrar Qureshi and the ace photographer. And he used to shoot with mom a lot because he used to do a lot of hair brands before. And he's eaten at the restaurant like multiple times, and he was a big fan and dad's very good friend. So he just called up dad randomly one day saying that, please send me your mutton sukka and send me a couple of gravies. Like he wouldn't give an order. My dad would just, send something. And he said, we are a small crew, just 7, 8 of us. So dad sent, his regular food for the set. And it happened to be Sachin's shoot. And he tried the food there and, and after that is just history because, everywhere, like, all the photographers, whoever used to order before, like, they always knew about Fresh Catch and they would order in. But these are just small stories that, we came to know much later about, how and when it started.
In fact, I know through my friends in catering or home chefs and who sometimes supply to sets, they say that when the person picks parcels for them, then after that or before that, they go to Fresh Catch. In fact, there's some specific orders because if there's a shoot of Sachin involving Sachin, even today, then he makes it a point that there should be food from Fresh Catch from them. So how did the transition from catering to restaurant happen? Because, the reason why I'm asking this is that there are a lot of, say, home chefs or people who are interested in food and who want to sort of open a restaurant. And in a way, your dad's background is similar, right? I mean, he was not a trained chef. So he moved into this thing. So what all goes into opening a restaurant? Because he also knew the other side of it. So would love to hear that.
So, for anybody, especially in a city like Mumbai, it is not easy to open a restaurant or for any business for that matter, because you need that sort of a capital backing, or you need, somebody maybe like a godfather or somebody who's in the industry to like at least tell you the path or tell you that these are the things required. Or even when you want, some advice and you just want to like bounce it off or bounce that idea off somebody, you feel a little comfort. But knowing my dad, like he knew the industry, like the hospitality industry, solely in 5-star hotels. So, and they work very differently from, standalone versus restaurants in a 5-star. So for him, like it was like he just wanted to garner as much as experience that he can, like invest whatever you've, saved up or you scrunched up at the time, and then finally open up a restaurant. So, with catering, you're not at the forefront of clients. It's basically you cook in a kitchen and then you go and, you service it at their location. But that was his training ground for the restaurant. So I think, I wouldn't know exactly what was going on in his mind.
How old were you guys then? I mean, without, or maybe you don't. Were you guys kids or teens? Or...
I was not born yet.
Oh, okay. Yes,
So
yes.
it was
So,
when he entered and when he was out of five-star hotels, like it was still, their initial years of marriage.
okay.
And dad was very clear about his dream. Like he was
Uh,
clear about, feeding those curries that he used to cook, feeding that to like the Mumbaikars and, eventually people who used to
I
visit
must tell you,
Mumbai.
sorry, just to take a break. I mean, we're talking of seafood, and I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe my little cats know we're doing of that because they're coming and nuzzling my feet. Maybe they're hoping for some
You
bombil
understood?
fry or some prawn curry from Fresh Cats. Sorry. You're talking about being in the forefront versus restaurant being
Correct.
different.
So that's what, that idea was just like, it was marinating, and then eventually like, you know,
Marinating, yes.
yeah, and eventually when my mom and dad could, save up that a little capital to actually go ahead, because you can't own a space directly. So it
Yes,
was
yes.
still, the talks were about renting and like finding
Mhm.
the right space. And it just happened that they got blessed. Everything happened in Mahim.
Yes.
They started dating in Mahim. They used to visit the same church. Yeah. So my mom still tells me that, her dates were actually, this Navina service, like
Yes, Wednesday.
the Wednesday
Wednesday, yeah?
Navina service at Mahim, the St. Michael's Church. So he's saying
Yes.
we used to visit at 7 p.m. and that was our date. We used to just like go there and then, maybe go for some like a coffee or like a shiv puri or something after that.
Yes, yes. So wow, so I mean the inception of both the restaurant as well as you and your brother, the sort of idea sort of happened there. So that's wonderful to know, and also it's great to know that your mom also sort of contributed to the sort of this thing
Of course,
because
that was big time because she at the time was doing like her shoots, like I'm not sure if it happens now, but it seems she would shuttle between three sets at one time.
wow.
And so I can't, like, it's so difficult to even like fathom that idea. But it used to happen, at her peak time where she would just say that, okay, like I have to wrap up from here, then go to the next show, then wrap up from there, go to the third. And she would work round the clock. So, then the income also was like that. And that's when, my mom was like, whatever, like, that nudge or that push was done only from my mom, saying that like you have the expertise, you have the talent, all you need is this backing, which I am there to support you 100%.
It's really like the cliche, a woman is behind every successful man is really true.
Right.
Okay, now all of this happened, of course, starting with before you're born, and then very very early childhood, and then Adith is even younger than you. So,
Correct.
like when did the idea of getting into the food business, get into you? I mean, and how did you start?
Honestly, that wasn't even a conscious effort
Like
because we
like
were
I
just
know Adit went into advertising first. So
correct.
yeah, what was
Correct.
your thought
So he was
process?
very inspired, right from the beginning, because mom would actually take him on shoot sets. And while she was working, he would just be there observing. Like, mom would tell us when he was an infant, she would take him, to the set and then like feed him when there was a break or when there was a coffee break or something, and then hop on back. So he's literally grown up on sets.
In
And so
advertising.
I don't think, yeah, so I don't think that was like a big, like a big brainer to even think that he would
No,
enter that industry. But he was
but what
very
about
passionate one.
so you're saying he was fascinated by advertising.
By advertising. So that was like, he still says that's my first love. Advertising is my first love. And about Fresh Catch, like about being, part of Fresh Catch, I think it started, like I said, even before we were born. So for us, there was no option. Like we were just there in this big foodie family that the whole day we were like, our topics of conversation was only food. So there was nothing of like, yeah, we were like my
I
mom,
would
my
love
dad.
to be in a family like that because I all my consumption conversations, life decisions, days planning, everything's
It's
around
about
food.
food. Yeah, so that's the only thing that we spoke as passionately as one can imagine, because whether it was breakfast, lunch, dinner, there was always what to look forward to and what can be, and a lot of criticism, like this could be better, that could be better.
Criticism of
So
what's cooked at home, or what's coming in front of.
from at home, at home,
That is like a slippery sort of area,
critics
battleground.
unfolded. Like that is, from every family member, whether it was my mom, my grandmom, my chachus, my aunts, masis, everybody, like food was, and especially at our home. Because, my dad would experiment a lot. He would want, our members, like our relatives, to try all sorts of food. So for me and Adith, there was never a turning point. Like we never had an option of a career path.
But
It
in a
was
voluntary way, not that.
all
When you
the
mean
things
no,
we wanted.
not that forced. Yeah,
No,
because when you say
never.
not an option, it can also mean that.
Not an option as in like to understand it. But about food, like about
Yeah.
like getting into it. Because
Yeah.
whatever said and done, if you're running a business, you have to know not just that tossing and the plating part of it, but the fish that that you prepare, what sort of season what fish comes through, what gravies go with what, the kind of fish. All of those things are,
Plus, I'm
like
guessing inventory, man management,
of
people who
course,
might be
of
very
course.
different from you, like the cooks and all of that, or the vendors.
Yeah, and yeah, so this conversation happened very recently between Adith and me, where when we were kids, dad would finish his his shift for the day, or he would come in the night, or even when he would come in the afternoon for his lunch break. That's when the restaurant is shut for the staff break. He would come over and he would tell us whatever he did during that half a day, or whatever he did during the dinner shift. And just small things, maybe if a customer gave him some feedback, or customer has come from abroad and he's spoken something about fresh catch, or even the staff for that matter, if somebody came and said like, I want to raise, I want to leave, I want to like go for a break to my village and come back, small things like this. And he would explain of how he dealt with it. And as kids, I mean, nobody was even interested at the time, or both Adith and me would just talk about like, why is he telling us this? Like, what is the reason behind it? But now that the same things are happening to us, where we don't have dad physically with us, all of those, it's like he's literally answering those questions for us. Or
30
like
years
he's
later,
giving,
I mean, whatever, 25 years later. Right?
Yeah, and it's like I have my personal advisor with me like throughout the day.
Yes, that's
Same
amazing.
with Adith, So we talk about it, and this happened very recently where we discussed this, and like you can't get a better gift than that.
What a wonderful thought. I mean, like, I read somewhere, that, there's a mentor and disciple sort of this thing. And
Right.
so, I'm part of Buddhist group. So where there's a mentor, Dr. Ikeda, and he
Okay.
always says that, a successor should be someone who moves with the mentor and not behind. So like, a sense, like if your dad was your mentor in the business, all his
Right.
things are like you are sort of replicating it, which is really lovely. So Adit started off his career with non-food and advertising. What about you? Because I remember, I think you went more into a food-centered career, right? And education.
So there is a mix between both of our career patterns also, because for Adit, he was always the one as in front of the food. Like he was always the taster, and he was always the critic. And he was always, this could have been made better. Or he would tell my dad, I would like it like this. So he was more, as on the food, the critic part of it. While me, I would be like in the kitchen, or, preparing stuff. But we still wanted to explore. So dad and me never, like dad and my mom never forced us into anything. We were open to, pick up an instrument and say the next day, I want to try playing an instrument. My brother he would just think, what if I become a footballer? And my dad would just say like, okay, go ahead, start your training. Let's see, and Adith is an ace footballer. Like,
Yeah, I know.
he's
The poor
on
thing
different levels.
broke his leg before a big tournament,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
recently.
before
No,
the tournament. Correct,
he was quite cut up
correct.
about. Yes, I remember
Yeah, yeah,
seeing him in the restaurant with a cast and a
correct.
plaster and looking very, very downcast. Very, very,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because it was like I just started and I wanted to get into the groove of it.
Yeah.
But so a lot of us, like, I was into singing and dancing. So there was a long part, like, where we actually, like took a conscious like thought to what our careers would be. And I took up science because the notion at the time was like, when you get like a high percentile or
Yes.
whatever, like your grades are high, you're either a doctor or an engineer. Like that is your your goal or your thought process. But I took up science. I hated it. I said, no ways, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not
Join the club.
Oh, yeah, seriously. I said, not for me. My brother, he took up mass media because he said, I want to still explore that part of, mom's industry. And he loved it. So,
Yeah.
he continued while also, like even during his school and his college days, my mom would force him to be a cashier at the restaurant, sit in the restaurant, observe like how dad would like treat the customers, how he would take care of staff, how he would take care of inventory. So he was already being trained, to be part of the restaurant. Whether, whatever he wants to do with advertising was his choice. But this was, that mom encouraged him as well. So both of us, when, like we grew out of our teenage years, we said, okay, like this is literally dad has made a platform. Mom has made a platform for the both of us. We can rely on them for whatever we want. We don't have that struggle in terms of where will the money come from? Where do we have to like, who do we have to speak? Or, we have our own, godfather and godmother from the industry in the house. So we only had to like, open our hands and say, I need your advice. I need your help. And that was exactly what both of them did. So, eventually, like seeing their hard work and their perseverance just, gave it like an easy answer for us, saying that this is what we have to do.
But you then like he studied mass media. What did you study? Because I know you worked in opera and all of that later.
Science. Correct. So I picked up science during my junior college. And then eventually, like I told my mom and dad that I want to pursue culinary arts. And that's when we decided, okay, we'll have to look at the best schools that are available around. And I always had this thing where, like right through my childhood, like there was this favorite cartoon of mine I used to watch. I don't know if you're aware of it. It's called Heidi.
Heidi, yes. I mean, I know of the character. I think it's a German thing. I've not seen the cartoon.
Swiss. Yeah. So she's a girl from the Swiss Alps, and and I had always seen that like during my childhood days where I would imagine like what is Switzerland like and like what sort of like a livelihood would they, and for me it was all about milk and cheese and like going around like seeing goats and those big cows with black and yellow spots on them with big bells. But I just went online and we did a lot of research for like hospitality schools, and everyone knows that Switzerland is like the capital of hospitality schools, and they're the best in the world. So I dabbled between Switzerland, Paris, to find out where, or even Italy for that matter. But eventually we just shortlisted the whole the college list to Switzerland. And that's when I enrolled in Caesarit's academy, and I took up my bachelor's in international business. I took up culinary as my major. So so eventually I did land up studying food, and then I had a lot of experience even after Switzerland. Dad wanted me to join the restaurant business then, but there was this opportunity which I had to go to the States and pick up my management training.
Okay.
And it was in Florida. It was in Fort Lauderdale, which is very close to Miami. So as like a 20-year-old who's got this opportunity living in Europe, and you have an opportunity in the States, I only had to request my dad and say, please, I'm going to earn as well and I'm going to study and this will help me. And, I gave him a big list.
But
And
you're next door to Florida, which is, yeah, I mean, that's the real reason, right?
I very advantageously, I missed out that part. So I just said, like learning is so good and it's not going to be as freezing cold. They would worry about it in terms of the climate.
Of course.
And it's just like Mumbai and there's no change, all of that. But, they were all forth, towards getting an experience. And so that has helped me also, big time. And then eventually when I came to Bombay, I told my dad, I just don't want to step into the owner's shoes. Like that's what, we were very clear at the time. And my dad was the one who encouraged me to start with 5-star hotels.
Okay.
He said that that's where, you would get your, the India experience. You've got everything like the global exposure and, working abroad. But for India, you have to still work and, strategize. Like he would always say that my knowledge is field knowledge, because I would just, work in my, or like cook in my home kitchen and then, get the experience from the, what do you call it? Like his F&B background. But for you, I want you to get that, the theoretical and the, the physical knowledge that you can get and bring it back to Fresh Catch. So that was, hand in gloves that, we decided. So name it, Leela's, Oberoy's, the Sofitel, the Accor Group. I worked in all of them. And
in the kitchen side of all of these?
No. So this was mostly into business management. So I was in sales and marketing. Okay. And the kitchen part, I think I was already done and dusted with college and, even working in Switzerland, working in the States. But now I wanted to see, the management part of
running the business.
And that's when, both the sides came together at Fresh Catch.
But the intention was always to come to Fresh Catch after like being groomed everywhere. Oh, lovely.
Always. Correct.
So that's a very interesting stage that you went abroad, studied hospitality, business relationships, business management, Florida. And then when you joined the hotel industry, you were working in the marketing and sales side. So when did the shift to Fresh Catch happen? Was it before Dad passed away or after?
It was before. So this was during just the peak of the lockdown, because I had gotten married in December of 2019. That's when, a little bit of the outbreak had started of COVID. And so, the plans were of expansion and getting into a bigger space, because now it was like me, my brother and me. So, now it would have been a team to, take over like a bigger space. So a lot, we had shortlisted another space as well, where, it was already with the alcohol license and fairly large seating. And then, it just went downhill after the whole pandemic hit and stuff like that. But at least, at that time, it was a conscious decision that, now this is where we will, take over and run Fresh Catch.
And then you moved to Bandra, and then Dad passed away before that, right? Before the shift?
Oh, correct. So we ran Mahim as well. So, there was an overlap in running even Fresh Catch Mahim. That's when we, actually took the reins in our hands to run the business, because we were always there. But this was now only us. There's a difference where that, okay,
that is the buck stops with Dad.
Yeah.
So, rescue us.
All the honing of the skills happened there with Dad. But now after that, it was like, now you're just responsible. For us, the biggest, we didn't get scared about anything, but we were worried that, now it is our testing time. Like now it is our, time to show our skills and the same, have the same responsibility and passion that Dad had. So that was, yeah.
No, please go ahead. You were saying something
So,
that.
so that was like, you know, a little bit of a battle for us to overtake.
So the way I see it, two things happened at that time. Like you guys were still a bit raw in terms of taking it over from your dad's time, and then it became just you guys. And then you moved
Correct.
from Mahim to Bandra, which is chalk and cheese in terms of areas and competition and all that. So
Right.
how was that? How did that happen? And plus,
You know,
I'm guessing that in the pandemic, if you launched in the beginning, it probably wouldn't be that much of customer interface, right? It'd be more deliveries.
correct.
So new area, new customers,
Yeah.
new responsibility. Seems very overwhelming. How do you manage it?
So, honestly, I don't have like one answer for it because every day was like, we were more focused on like what do you call it? You say firefighting, right?
Yes.
Like we're just dousing fires everywhere because that was the only thing that happened during the lockdown and the
Um,
whole the pandemic. But now that we think of it, we can whatever problems come our way, we have solutions. So we are okay. Like
yes.
we've seen it all in these 2 3 years,
Yes.
and I'm happy that we went through that as well, because my dad would always tease us. He's saying you don't know what struggle is. The minute you have to do it yourself, and then you'll realize that this is what my dad said, or this is what was advised to you, and that is exactly what happened. So whether it was in Mahim, where you remember that during the lockdown you just had like 2 3 hours of the day where you could
Yeah, yeah,
order.
yeah, yeah. And so the
So,
riders could also ride in those 2 3 hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, for us, that just became like, when you have such a big team, you have like seafood, like you're buying seafood, which is like, our fisher folk it was like a death battle every day, to even get the boats out, get the fish. It was sold at such a premium to us. We had to sell it, like that to even like sustain or run the business. But touch wood, our customers are there since, or the clientele which we have are, from the 80s. So, they know that we will never compromise on quality or the taste, and that would never change. So I think that, that support from them also helped us, to sustain and to survive during the pandemic and the lockdown. But never for once we doubted, whether it was Mahim to Bandra or what, because we searched every, nook and corner in Mahim, and somehow we were never pleased or never satisfied or never satiated that this is my like the new location for my restaurant. So we opted a little outside Mahim. Then eventually, we went to Lower Parel, we went to all of these areas. But then one of the brokers came to us and said, "Why not Bandra? Bandra mein to, it's restaurants only. You will thrive and all of that." But like at that time we said that Bandra is like anyway an ocean of restaurants. So over there, sustaining, then licensing and stuff like that. But this place, we just liked it because it's not in your face. It's still like you're in a building, but you still don't feel like you're in this hustle bustle of the city. It's not road facing. You see the greenery and you see the church and all of that from the windows. So we liked that sort of a cozy atmosphere, and that's when we just went ahead and with our gut and said Bandra it is.
And okay, so pandemic was one part, and that was like a atypical situation, and that's really like your hard work and the loyalty of
Yeah,
customers, which is a result of years of delivering, great service, which is there. Then you move
absolutely.
into Bandra, like I said, and then things open up, and now everyone's opened up, and people have options. Home chefs are in fact facing those challenges. So
Right.
you had to create, in a way, a new entity, right? Because your customers in Mahim, were there, but you are now in a new suburb, and you would want locals to come to you, right? So
Of
what
course.
took you to win over the Bandra crowd, which, like you said, has is spoiled for options,
I know. I know. So especially like we've seen both the sides. We've seen like Mahim, where we know that our clientele is set, where somewhere from Mahim, like even not even so much Bandra, right from Mahim to maybe Kemps Corner, Gamdevi, or even Nepean Road for that matter. Our
or
clientele
Bombay.
was that stretch.
I mean,
So we
from
catered.
people who are not from Bombay, that's the South Bombay stretch,
South Bombay.
while Bandra is just after Mahim, which is the northern side. Yeah.
Correct. So, so our the clientele, knowing that our clientele was in South Bombay, and whoever they would spread the word out to, because we never did any sort of like marketing as such. Because anyway, it was a small, restaurant, and we couldn't cater to as many covers that we wanted to. But it was word of mouth that we would get suburban crowd coming to Fresh Catch. But once we moved to Bandra, they were like, even though we had that clientele, like, people wouldn't want to like come over and cross the ceiling.
Yeah.
Even though it's like
It's
literally
the other way around also. The Bandra folks don't want
they
to
will not go to South.
go to
So
South.
yeah, so that
Yeah.
was another thing where we didn't imagine it at the time, because we thought now we're going to the suburbs, so we'll get the Sogo crowd and we'll get suburbs.
Oh, it
But
was-
that was, so that like shattered our dreams, like when we actually thought of it. But Bandra, the word spreads too fast here. Like it's not, like you have one auntie from maybe Bandra gym or Khar gym.
I know of one auntie from Bandra gym who'd gone with us to you, and after which we Huh?
Oh, yeah. So, or it can be somebody who's like a bystander, somebody who just seen something on Instagram, or even if you're walking the lane and you see the board,
Yes.
and you want to like try it. But Bandra is that sort of a whimsical place that, you don't need that sort of,
I must point out here that I am podcasting from Bandra, so the place we're talking about. Yeah, so you're saying it's a whimsical place. That's
and and that just worked for us. Like people, like whoever dined in with us, they would tell their community, or like whoever was around. Especially like we get a lot of Punjabis and the Sindhi community at the restaurant. And then we started seeing big crowds from Khar, like the Sindhis who live in Khar would come, because they are in big majority there. So like small things like this worked out from day one. It wasn't like even the first month where we feel let's try and see what happens. Nothing like that. Like we got that sort of like footfall and the the support from day one. So
and that continued, right? I mean, it's not
that
that
continued.
yeah, but I must say
Correct.
that's not easy, because restaurants open a dime a dozen, and unfortunately many of them are unable to sustain the initial sort of buzz. So I think all credit to you guys, you Adith, this team,
but
your
Kalyan,
dad's legacy.
Yeah, but that's what I keep thinking of. Like, like you said about restaurants, they're literally like mushrooms, like you grow, like every day you see like something or the new opening up, something which is trendy, or, like in vogue, coming up as a restaurant. But like, that is the base. Your food, talks for itself. The people who come to your restaurant, they are your biggest promoters. Like they want to, if they like your food, or they are convinced that this is, it doesn't have to be like fancy pants sort of.
Yeah, because your food is very, I mean, very traditional, home, like whatever you want to call it. It's
call
not
it soul
like
warming,
created in a certain way, or different takes on it.
Right.
You're very hardcore traditional. So in a way, it's not trendy, if I might say so.
It's not trendy for sure, and that's what like that has
It's
been
not
a
even
motto.
Instagram friendly. Like when I've gone
Correct.
there, I try to take pictures, like a Goan prawn. You have to fish out the prawn to make it,
But
it's not even
that
Instagram friendly.
bite, like when you do that fishing out, I look for content like that. Like there are people like, in my friend circle, or, even the restaurateurs that we hang out with, they want to see like that real food. Like they want to see like when you grab or you bite into something, everything doesn't have to be like a, like a top shot, or like something which is like you have a, an array of food in front of you, or like stuff like that. But that is real food. And, it's like a hearty meal. So you can
People
come.
want that. Eventually, you go back to a place which is a real meal. I mean, you might go to another place to sort of get blown out.
Correct.
Or also, there are many lovely places doing that, not discounting them, but you won't go back to them in a hurry.
Correct. But that is seldom, right? Like it's occasional, or you feel. But that's what like we wanted to cater to not just one aspect of like, we are polishing up coastal food for you. It's not like that,
Yeah.
it is, you come in your shorts in one day, you come in a suit the next day, the food is the same.
Yeah.
So that was like our goal since day one, especially for, Fresh Catch, wherein like our other brands like Fries is very casual and like,
Yeah.
it's easy going, it's youth friendly. But
Yeah.
Fresh Catch, we want to keep it, like keep the essence of the place as soul warming or heart warming food.
True.
You come,
No,
yeah, you come and you eat like you're eating at home. It's like your mom serving you. Like my boys go 2-3 times on the table saying that, can I serve you the next helping? Or,
yeah, I
like.
remember, yes.
So that's what we want. Like that's our theme of being in Vogue.
In fact, once my brother had come from Delhi and he loves seafood, and he'd come only for the evening, and he had to go back to his hotel. So we called in from you guys, and it was like through whatever they call them, Swiggy,
Yeah.
I think it's called something, no platform. Anyway,
The
so
third party aggregators.
third party, yeah. So we called from you. So I mean, it's not that you guys would know, it's coming to our place and we know each other. So the food came, and he said that of the last 3-4 times, and we always do something, like sometimes we've gone to places, say in Bandra East or whatever. Sometimes we called it from home chefs. But he said that of all the few times he'd eaten, he really loved this, and it really sort of felt good the next day as well. So yeah, I mean,
Awesome.
So now tell me, I mean, with you and Adith there, because earlier your dad was doing the whole thing because mom was in her work. So
Correct.
how do you guys sort of distribute your work, or is there an overlap between what you do?
Between me and Adith?
Yeah. Between you and Adith, yeah.
There is nothing which is divided as such. In everything, like, we always say we are a homegrown brand and we are a family run restaurant. So whether it was in Mahim, our inputs, like, whether it was in accountancy, whether it was in marketing, other than we were always there for that. When it was about mom, putting her 2 cents in the business, it was there. Trial and errors, doing menu changes, all of that was like, from like perennial times, it was there for us to be involved in. But now the main, our main goals, or other than me, what we do is that, anything that we think will, operations, we divide. We say, okay, you take care of finance, or
that's
you
what I'm
take
saying.
care of
Operations. So there's an operation division to, just from an efficiency point of view, and then
Right.
there's a thing of. So let's talk the operation first, and then the mindset. How
Right.
you guys working to grow the business.
Operationally, when you mean service,
yeah, I mean, like, for example, behind the kitchen, front of staff, social media,
So I don't have, like, I am zilch in like social media and like all of that. You tell me scroll and you see what's trending and find out, I'll do all of that. But I am not a big digital person. Like, I was never inclined towards it. Like, sometimes or the other, and just for news feeds and stuff like that, it's fine, or to keep in touch. But Adith is like the mastermind in terms of, like, he's really good at what he does, and he just needs time, because we're just all around the place at all times. He doesn't get that that focus in terms of using social media as much as one should, which a lot of newer brands now are they're acing the game in
but they give
just
it out. They give it out to people.
They give it out. We want to put ourselves out there, because over here it's like in Bandra, like, I don't want to say this like as a stereotype, but you're forgotten very fast.
No, it's
You
true.
have
It's
to,
true. It's true, because you have so
you
many
have to
options.
keep. Correct. So you feel like, by the time you finish those options and come back to what you like the best, you're already 6 months out.
Yeah, true.
So just for a recall value, or like to be, like in your face, or say that, and not in a way that you're choking someone, or, just spamming them, but to like bring out like, your dishes, because our menu is so extensive. Like, even if we pick out one day, it's not just chicken and mutton, right? Like, it's so many types of fish, so much of knowledge that Adith and me have, like, I can talk about like breeding seasons throughout throughout the year, of saying this is what goes when, talking about nutritional values, like stuff like that, which is the common man wouldn't know as much. We can use up all of those things for our social media. So I think now Adith is saying, like, that whenever we chat, he says that we sit down and now we focus. We've done the whole operations bit, we've done the whole
You look after
culinary
more of the
part.
kitchen part, right?
Kitchen, yes. uh 1 second, I think something has just popped up of an update.
Okay, so we've got a bit of the operation part of it, like social media, and I guess Adit's advertising background and how that will help. But
Correct.
now, what is the shared vision? And what I was wondering also, when I was also reading about a lot of interviews, including to you guys, it's been so much of your father's presence, and it's really a Himalayan presence. So you guys, I'm sure, looking at taking his legacy ahead, but also at one point, like taking that forward with
Right.
your own sort of face or contribution to it. So it's a bit of a tricky area. I mean, which often like people face, when they have a parent who is such a towering personality like Mr. Bachchan or Sunil Gavaskar and so on. So how are you guys handling this? Like your own identity and sort of taking your legacy ahead?
So for us, our goal was very clear. Like, whatever dad built, or his what do you say, his expertise, or whatever he has built for all of these years, that has to be the foundation of the expansion of Fresh Catch. Whether we are in
But
Mahim.
you said fresh catch also sort of represents, the sort of fish you would look into, right? Like really fresh stuff.
So dad would do this, like, for like, even till the lockdown, he would go every day to
Mm.
sort out the fish and do the sourcing himself. And now we've continued the same thing, where I do the sourcing of the fish, keeping track of like what we already have now, because of like being in a bigger space in Bandra, and now with the consumption at Fries also, our sourcing is much larger. And that needs more attention and care to whatever we are giving, because now we have new opinions. We don't have the old clients who anyway trust us,
Actually,
so
Sachin Tendulkar. Sachin
yeah,
Tendulkar,
yeah,
and he's
of
a
course.
Bandra boy now. So yeah.
Correct, correct. So everybody, like, like you said, like there are so many like personalities, or from the industry, from the film industry, from newspapers, magazines, who visit Fresh Catch in Bandra. And the first thing that they talk about, because anyone would still want to have or strike a comparison, right? Like Mahim, Bandra, kids, taking over
Uh,
the brand. And even without us, like, approaching them, or having a chat with them, they would come to us. Like, if I'm sitting at the cashier, or if Adith is like, he's there on kitchen duty, or he's there as a reader, like, where you stand and you just read the orders out and you get out. So
yeah.
on weekends we don't have an option, because we would, like, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we had a huge queue outside the restaurant and people waiting. So you have to like wrap it up and do it quick. So Adith was on kitchen duty, and he was the reader, and he was the caller out. And I was on the cashier, or just like, scuttling, even taking orders, running around. So that's when, like, we divide, we say, this is today, this is you, today, this is me, and like, for the day. And people will still come to us, and they would, like, this happened last night, where there was this very young couple. And I didn't ask for their names, but it was the like chaotic in the restaurant last evening. And they came up to us, and she just said, can I just speak to you for a minute? I said, of course. And she said, you're related to Francis, right? So I said, yeah, I'm the daughter. And so she's like, no, I figured as much, because her age, when I looked at her, I said, she must be a kid, like, somebody who's come out of college or something. But when she spoke about dad, I didn't like realize that they are old timers of Fresh Catch Mahim. So
Wow.
I said, when was the last time you visited Fresh Catch in Mahim? I just asked her
Yeah.
that. And she said, I've been coming since I was 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
Both of them, like I think I remember her saying she was from Queen Mary's, and he was from the adjoining school, and that's when she said that like my parents used to get us as kids to Fresh Catch Mahim, and like your dad was like an uncle to us. Like he would literally feed us and not ask us what we want. He would just say that, do you want something crispy or you want something like to eat with a nice neer dosa or rice? And he would
Awesome.
just go in the kitchen, tell them to whip up something and come, and they were mesmerized every meal, like at
Awesome.
whenever they visit. Yeah. So when she said that to me, all of that stress of like in a very busy look, like a very busy evening or a service shift, it just brings you down and you says everything is worth it. Like whatever like is happening right now, it's all worth it when you hear these things. And then when I told Adith, so he was even more happy. He's saying, Didi, we can do one more shift now. It's fine.
And a lot of your staff is from the past, right? From your dad's
All of
time.
them,
Yeah.
all of them.
So
So
so the
dad,
transition has been smooth, like the new generation, and within that also like the daughter, sometimes a
correct.
very male-dominated industry, like the kitchen and all that.
Yeah,
So how
yeah.
did you guys manage that transition? Because it would have
So
been
there
tough.
was, yeah. So like it wasn't like spelled out. Like we never had to face that sort of an issue or like describe it or try to solve it. But like you said, definitely there was like whenever you say change of guards
Yes.
in
Yeah.
any, whether you're in a corporate job or you're running a business, and you're looked at the daughter or the son of the owner, there's always like a different chivalry towards you. And cut to you being that owner or the boss, and whatever. And so many of them, like earlier, like, it's a small thing, but like it impacted us like in terms of our thinking, where they would come to Adit, and some of the boys, the old timers would say Adit, and then they would say sir, like this Adit,
Yeah.
Adit, and then sir.
Yeah.
But he would correct them saying that why should that change? Like I was Adit to you like when I was a kid, and now I'm Adit to you, like who is just there with you. I'm not like, don't think of me like the owner or whatever, but just think of me like running the business now, and how you operate is how you do it, before, and how you do it now. So that definitely was there, but it never became like what do you call it, like a deal breaker or something where we had to overcome. It eventually dies down because then they adapt to how you work or whatever. And there have been a lot of times where the oldies would come to me, and like the senior staff would come to me and say, but sir would do it like this.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I would say, okay, so then if sir does it like this, or if I'm doing it like this, let's see the pros and cons.
Yes. Yes.
Whichever comes better, because like obviously you're human, you can make mistakes, and my dad obviously would make mistakes, I would make mistakes, but the whole goal is to get a better solution out of it.
And also times
So
change, right? Times change, customers change, everything changes, right?
of course, so now they, like it's, there is no, we don't have that sort of hesitance or whatever. They are, in fact, they are very, like my staff is so friendly with us, or we are so friendly with them, that like if we do something wrong, or if they see that okay, there's something going to go wrong, even when we approach or like we face a problem, they'll come and immediately tell us, no, 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 I think that you should do
Oh,
this, but
nice.
it's up to you, like
Yeah.
this is an opinion.
So
And we
that's
love that. That's, yeah, we want them to come and give us, because we are not right all the time.
In fact, it reminds me of another saying in Buddhism, which says,
Yeah,
you could be many in body, but it has to be one in mind. So each of you
of
sort
course.
of brings in different skills, but at
Correct.
the end of it, the goal remains common. So,
Correct.
so it's been a lovely chat, but I'm going to ask you one question, which I ask everyone at the end. Any tips from you to sort of people, young folks who are now coming into the profession, or even old folks, who are making a lateral career shift? But anything which like you've learned with your experience across hotels and seeing your dad and running it yourself, if you talk 2, 3 things to keep in mind.
So, the first thing which I tell whoever comes and asks me for advice, or if they just want to know whether it's worth putting that much efforts or like working hard towards something where you don't have a guiding hand or a guiding light behind you. The first thing which I say is that to trust your gut, trust your
Okay.
intuition. If you firmly believe, like even for 1 second, if you feel that maybe this is not right, try to change that and try to make that doubt like a winner or like
Okay.
a yes.
Sparring. Yeah.
And if by chance you feel like you're not sure about it, you will not be sure in the future also, because other people might try to like convince you and say, yeah, but I think this is a good idea. But till the time, like they say, nobody can drive your car better than yourself, right? No driver can. So that's exactly what happens, when you enter any business, restaurants, or like you open a clothing store, or you want to become a designer, or do whatever you want. But the first thing is the gut and your intuition. And like small things, like even if it is about like treating like your staff as friends, keeping like that sort of like chivalry between like your team, because at the end they are your faces. You
Yeah.
can't be there 24/7 in your business. They represent you. So that is another thing which I said. And one day at a time. That's
Yes.
my life motto. I always say one day at a time.
Fabulous. So follow your gut. Believe in team spirit in real life, in actual, and one day at a time. So that's fabulous, absolutely fabulous. For folks watching this, and Fresh Catch is located in Bandra in Hill Road. So sometimes you might need to queue up, and otherwise you can order in. And if you're not in Bombay, like I keep saying, that you can order in for people in Bombay from outside. Also, while the name is Fresh Catch, but they also catch chicken and mutton, and also there are vegetarian dishes as well. So, right? I mean, yeah. So great. It's been absolutely wonderful speaking to Ankita. It would have been lovely to have both of you, Ankita and Adith, but I
Right.
don't think he would have liked to come on Foodocracy for Women. I think once we should have a Foodocracy for footballers, and then we'll get him.
Oh yeah, we would love
Yeah.
to be part of that.
Yes.
Lovely talking to you, Kalyan. Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me
so
over.
much. Thank you, and see you at the restaurant soon.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Bye. Bye.